I'm going to show you how to assemble a 6133 Kodiak canvas cabin tent in several easy steps. What I've done first is I've laid out all the poles to kind of take an inventory and to show you what poles you should have. These here are the main poles that are required for putting up the tent. This tent has an awning that you can put up or you can leave rolled up. It's up to you. These are the poles for the awning. These are the stakes. These are the guy lines. This is the tent, and this is the bag that it comes in. It just, on a side note, you can buy these bags separately, and it's not a bad idea because the bags are a little bit heavy. They're not too heavy for me, but they are too heavy for my wife, so it's not a bad idea to get another bag. Maybe separate these poles and then these poles into a separate bag. So after laying this out, the first thing you want to do, so these are the required poles, and then these are the optional poles for the awning. The first thing you want to do is lay this out so that the awning is facing the direction you want it to face. It's difficult to tell with it just laying flat right here, but this is the awning and it's rolled up, and I'm going to have the awning facing this way. So you start by staking each corner. I'm going to stake this corner, then you pull on the opposite corner, stake it down, then choose another corner, stake it down and pull on the opposite corner. So I'm going to stake down this corner here, and then the opposite corner, then the right corner, and then the left corner. Now I've stretched this out a little bit, the top of the tent, to show you this is what the sleeves look like on the sides, and then the center sleeve is completely it's completely closed up. So you begin with the upright poles. Now you'll notice, let me go back here, you'll notice the upright poles. There's several sets. There's this one that has a joint. You'll see there's two of them. And then these four are all the same. These are the sides. Because the peak is higher than the rest of the tent, it has these upright poles that have this joint. And then all of them have these thumb screws, as you can see right here. And this allows them to telescope. This little pole right here comes in and out. So you start with that upright pole, and you slide it into the sleeve. I'm on the side where there's the awning. You slide it down into the sleeve. You'll notice that there's this black strap. This goes in between these two knobs. I'm going to slide the center pole through the sleeves, and I'm going to connect it on the other side with the other upright, making sure that the strap is in between those two knobs. Then I do the center one. It's just exactly the same. And I slide the center pole through, and then this is on the awning side again. I'm going to slide the upright pole down through the sleeve, and again the awning side is the only part that has that sleeve, and that's to protect you against water, so that when you have your awning set up, it's not getting water inside. At the bottom of each of the upright poles is a little pin, and that's the receiving end. That goes inside up through the bottom of the upright poles. So right here is the pin. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just continue. I'm going to put the poles on top of those pins, and this is normally a two-man job. Because I'm doing this by myself, I'm going to start with the upright pole. If you have two people, you generally start with the side poles. It doesn't really matter though. But as you start to telescope each of the poles, the tent really comes together. So I'm going to do this other side here, putting the upright through the sleeve and putting this center pole through those sleeves. I'm going to connect that together. I'm going to start telescoping the poles, and the tent really starts to come together. Here's the other angle. And as you start to telescope the poles, you can see that it gets out the slack, becomes a really beautiful tent. So this is the thumb screw Of course, when you telescope the poles, you just tighten that and it holds them in place firmly. So here is, this tent has two awnings. There's this one that also functions as a door, and then this is the deluxe awning that I will set up for you. Let's first set up this little side awning. It only takes a moment. You'll see that these optional poles that we have, there's some that have a spike on the end. The spike goes up through the grommet, and then you use the guy line to stake it down and support it like this. Now let's do the big awning. Whoops. First I'm just going to unroll it. Okay, now I'm going to take one of these optional poles that has a little hook. If you look closely here, you'll see that there's a little hole in this upright pole. When you take this pole is one of those ones that has the red thing on the end, and it has a joint and it has a spike right here. That spike goes into that, and then this center pole has a hole there as well. Uses the same pole like this, and then this upright pole right here, if we were to lift up the awning, has a little hole in there too, and you put that spike in there. So I'm going to do that with all three sections, the left, the center, and the right. I'm just going to kind of leave them there for a second. And then you've got these other poles that have the spikes. One's larger than the other two. That one's obviously going to go in the center because this is higher than the rest of the tent. And the left and the right one here are going to go on the edge. I'll show you right here. So I'm going to start with the center one. It just goes up through that grommet. Then and then that telescoping pole that I put into that upright with the red end, that's going to meet up with this, and they're both going to be that joint on the front of the awning. Same with this left one. I'm going to put it through that red slot on the pole, and then through the grommet. Same on the right side. And then as you telescope those poles, everything comes together as well. Now there's two little poles left over that have red ends on both sides. These are going to go on these spikes up here, and then this one in my left hand is going to go on the right side with the spikes. One thing to keep in mind is you're going to want to keep these thumb screws facing down, so to protect the canvas on your tent. So I'm going to put that one in. So once both of those are in and you start to telescope everything, it starts to come together better. You'll see these right here on the awning. These are just hanging loose, so they don't look very good right here, but we need to stake those down. And there's 3 small stakes that you have that you can use to stake those down. So I'm going to stake that down, and it pulls on them. And you can use these when you set up the awning. You use the spike and a guy line, and you stake it down to give you stability in case you get a terrible windstorm. And let me show you a few pictures of it done. It's all done. This is the back side where we've got the 2 large windows. This is the backs. This is the I don't know what you call this. This isn't a door though. This is just a window. And these are 2 windows. And then this is the main door, and I've got it just opened up and rolled open. And this is a window. Gets plenty of ventilation. And then as you can see here, I'm 5'10", so you can see just how tall this tent is. There's no way I could ever hit my head on this. In fact, it's got a 7.5 foot peak. Even if I'm at the edge, being 5'10", my head still doesn't touch. So I'm standing right next to the edge, and my head isn't touching right there either. So kind of nice. From time to time, you're going to need to clean your tent. Don't use soap. Just use a broom, a scrub brush or something like that, and water. The tents are going to get dirty if you're under a lot of trees where there's sap or bugs or whatever, and they're going to start to get a little bit dirty. So if you clean it, it'll prevent You know, it'll prevent like mold and stuff like that if you keep your tent clean, and you got to keep it dry. And here's just a few more pictures from different angles to give you an idea of how it's built. And that's it in a few easy steps. The first time you put this up is going to be a little bit, it'll take the longest. It'll probably take you about 20 minutes. And then each subsequent time, assuming you have 2 people, it's more like 5 to 10 minutes. If you have any questions, contact us at competitiveedgeproducts.com.